The sky of Planet 09 burned with strange purple clouds, and the ground shimmered like glass beneath the human landing ship. Horizon Commander Aaron Voss stood at the front window, staring out in wonder. He had seen many worlds, but this one was different, beautiful, alive in a way that made his heart beat faster. Today was the first meeting between humans and the Zirans. A proud and powerful alien race, this mission was simple on paper: make peace, share knowledge, and avoid war. But Aaron knew that nothing in space was ever simple. The landing ramp hissed open and warm alien air brushed his face. He stepped down in his silver command suit, followed by two officers, Lieutenant Kale and Dr. Mira. They were here to meet Commander Sarika, the leader of the Ziran Defense Forces. Her message had been clear: come with respect, come with honesty, or don't come at all. Aaron adjusted his translator earpiece and whispered, "Let's hope this thing doesn't mess up again." Kale laughed nervously. "Sir, it worked fine during tests." Aaron gave him a half smile. "That's what worries me." Ahead of them stood a group of tall figures in dark armor, their skin glowing faintly under the twin suns. The Zirans were taller than humans, with silver blue skin and golden eyes that seemed to shine from within. In the center stood Commander Sarika, regal and calm, her presence commanding silence. Her armor was elegant, black with lines of blue light, and a long cape that moved like liquid shadow. When she raised her hand, her guard stepped back, leaving only her and Aaron in the open. Aaron walked forward, heart pounding in his chest. He stopped a few steps away and smiled, hoping to look calm. He tapped the side of his translator and said, "Greetings, Commander Sarika. I'm honored to meet you." The translator blinked green, then spoke in her language, but something was off. The alien soldiers suddenly looked at each other. Whispering, Sarika tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Then a slow smile touched her lips. She replied in a soft, melodic voice, "You are bold, human, to say such words before my warriors." Aaron blinked, confused. "Bold? I only said—" But Kyle tugged his sleeve urgently, whispering, "Sir." The translator may have misread the tone. Sarika took a step closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "In my language, your words mean something very different," she said. Her voice calm but curious. Aaron swallowed hard. "Different how?" Sarika smiled again, a dangerous, amused smile. "You said, 'I am honored to call you beautiful among stars.' That, Commander Voss, is a declaration of affection?" Aaron froze. Kale's eyes widened and Mira covered her mouth to hide a laugh. "That can't be right," Aaron muttered. "It was just a simple greeting." Sarika leaned slightly forward. "In our culture, those words are sacred. They mean you wish to bond your life with mine?" The human officers went pale. Aaron's heart skipped. "Wait, what?" No, that's not what I meant." Sarika didn't seem angry, though. She looked almost pleased. Her guards were whispering again. Watching the strange human who had just confessed love to their commander, Aaron tried to fix the misunderstanding. "It's a translation error, Commander. I swear." But the translator buzzed again, turning his words into, "My heart burns for you." "Commander," Mira actually laughed out loud this time. Quickly turning away, Sarika's eyes widened, and a soft glow spread across her cheeks. Was she blushing? The air grew heavy. Sarika finally spoke. "Human Commander, your courage is unusual. No one has ever spoken to me like that before." Aaron rubbed his face in frustration. "Please, I didn't mean—" But she interrupted. "I accept your words, Aaron Voss. By our laws, you have chosen me, and I accept the bond." Her guards bowed, their armor clicking in unison. Kale whispered, "Sir." "I think you just proposed," Aaron whispered back. "I think I just ended human diplomacy." Sarika turned to her soldiers, announcing something in her language. They cheered softly, like witnessing something sacred. Then she faced Aaron again. "You will come with me to the Hall of Bonds. It is tradition." Aaron wanted to say no, but he also knew that one wrong move could be seen as an insult. He forced a shaky smile. "Of course, Commander. Lead the way." As they walked toward the alien city glowing in the distance, Aaron whispered to Mira, "Please tell me you can fix that translator before I end up married to her." Mira grinned. "Too late, sir. She already thinks you're her mate." The alien sky darkened as twin moons rose, lighting the path before them. The city of Zira shimmered with towers of crystal and flowing energy. Aaron had wanted to make peace, but now he might have started something far more complicated. Somewhere deep down, he couldn't help but feel a strange spark, a curiosity, maybe even excitement. He looked once more at Sarika walking ahead, proud and beautiful under the glowing moons, and he whispered softly to himself, "What have I done?" Commander Aaron Voss woke up to the sound of alien drums echoing through the halls. At first he thought he was still dreaming, but then he saw the soft blue light filling his room and remembered he was still on planet Zyra 9. And worse, according to the aliens. He was now bonded to Commander Sarika. He rubbed his eyes and groaned, "Great, first contact. And I've already proposed by accident." The door slid open silently, and two tall Zirans entered wearing ceremonial armor made of glowing metal. They bowed and said something that his translator turned into. "The life-bonded one must prepare for the joining ritual." Aaron sat up fast. "The what now?" One of the guards blinked slowly. "The ritual of your union with our Commander Sarika." Aaron sighed. "Right. The translator still hates me." He stood up and looked out the window. Seeing the alien city spread like crystal veins under twin suns, he had to fix this mistake before it turned into a galaxy-wide scandal. Meanwhile, on the command balcony, Sarika stood watching the horizon, her cape fluttering in the morning wind. Her second-in-command, General Revik, approached with a dark expression. "Commander," he said, "this human, he does not understand our ways. He cannot truly mean what he said." Sarika turned slowly, her golden eyes glowing. He spoke the words of bond before the ancestors. "I will not dishonor that." Revik clenched his jaw. "But he is human and humans are reckless." Sarika smiled faintly. "That may be true, but perhaps that is what our world needs down below." Aaron tried to explain everything to Dr. Mira and Lieutenant Kale, who had been summoned to his room. "I just said hello," Aaron said helplessly, pacing back and forth. The translator turned it into a love poem. "And now they think I'm married." Kale grinned. "Well, sir, on the bright side, she's the most powerful woman on the planet." Mira rolled her eyes. "And probably the most dangerous." Aaron rubbed his temples. "I need to find a way to undo this without offending her people." A small chime sounded, and an alien aide entered with a polite bow. "Commander Sarika requests your presence in the Hall of Unity," the aide said. Aaron whispered, "That sounds bad." The aide smiled. "It is the place where new bonds are blessed." Mira gave him a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. "Good luck, Commander Husband," Aaron sighed. "Remind me to fire whoever made this translator." The Hall of Unity was breathtaking. A vast circular room with floating crystals and streams of light swirling through the air. Hundreds of Zyrans stood around the edge, watching silently as Sarika entered, dressed in ceremonial silver armor that shimmered like starlight. When she turned toward him, Aaron felt his heart skip. There was power in her movements, grace in every step. He had meant to explain himself right away, but the words caught in his throat. Sarika extended her hand toward him. "Come, Aaron Voss." "Before our people." Aaron stepped forward slowly, whispering to himself, "Don't mess up this time." "Don't say anything romantic," he bowed and said. "Commander Sarika, I am honored to stand with you," the translator hummed, then spoke in Ziran language. The crowd gasped again. Sarika smiled warmly. "He says his heart stands beside mine as one." Aaron's eyes widened. "Wait." "That's not," Revik interrupted loudly. "The bond is complete. By his will and by yours." Aaron looked helplessly at Mira, who mouthed, "Stop talking." Sarika turned to him, her eyes soft. "You will stay in the high quarters tonight. It is tradition for bonded ones to learn from each other." Aaron hesitated. "Learn what exactly?" Her smile grew mysterious. "Our ways, our emotions, our strength," he nodded nervously. "Right. Learning sounds good." The crowd began to chant softly, their voices echoing through the crystal hall. Aaron felt trapped between awe and panic. Later that night, Sarika led him through glowing corridors toward her private chamber. He could feel every guard's eyes on him. Inside, the room was quiet, filled with strange floating lights, and a window that showed the twin moons shining over the city. Sarika poured 2 cups of blue liquid and handed him one. "It is our bonding drink," she said. Aaron hesitated. "Is it safe for humans?" She smiled. "It will not harm you, but it may open your heart." He took a cautious sip, surprised by the warmth that spread through his chest. Sarika sat beside him, studying him carefully. "You are not like others I have met, Aaron Voss. You speak without fear." Aaron laughed awkwardly. "Fear just hides behind my words. Commander," she tilted her head, "we value honesty. It is rare among our kind." Aaron looked into her golden eyes and said softly, Humans are not always honest, but when we are, we mean it for a moment. There was silence, deep and strange. Then a soft light glowed between their hands where they rested on the table. Sarika's eyes widened slightly. "The bond mark," she whispered. Aaron looked down at the faint glow on his skin. "What does that mean?" She smiled gently. "It means fate agrees with our union." Aaron froze again. He wanted to protest, but something about the calm in her voice stopped him. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky, and deep within the city, forces began to stir. People who did not want a human anywhere near their commander. Aaron didn't know it yet, but his accidental words had started something far greater than love. It was the beginning of a storm that would shake two worlds. The alien night on 09 was silent except for the low hum of glowing towers. Commander Aaron Voss couldn't sleep, his mind spinning with confusion and fear. He had come to start peace talks, but now he was caught in a bond that seemed impossible to escape. Outside his window, the alien moons floated like silver coins in a dark ocean. He whispered to himself, "I need to fix this before the entire planet thinks I'm her husband." Suddenly, his door opened, and Commander Sarika stood there, dressed in light armor, her cape gone, her expression calm but unreadable. "Come with me," she said softly. "I wish to show you something." Aaron hesitated. "Now? It's the middle of the night." Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. It is the perfect time for truth. Before he could argue, she turned and walked away, her steps silent on the crystal floor. Aaron sighed and followed, muttering, "Why do I feel like this is going to be trouble?" They stepped into a small craft shaped like a silver wing. The air shimmered as it lifted off without sound. The city lights fell away behind them, replaced by endless fields of glowing plants and floating stones. Sarika stood near the front, her hands folded behind her back. "This is where our ancestors first came from, the stars," she said, her voice soft. "We call it the Field of Origins." Aaron looked out, amazed by the beauty of the alien world. "It's incredible," she nodded. "It is sacred to my people, and now it belongs to both of us," he nearly choked. "What do you mean, both of us?" Sarika smiled faintly. "The bond connects souls, not just words. You share my sight now." The craft landed beside a glowing lake where energy waves danced on the surface like living light. Sarika stepped down and motioned for him to follow. "Every bonded pair must walk the path of reflection," she said. "It shows who we truly are." Aaron laughed nervously. "You know, on Earth we usually just have coffee to get to know someone." She tilted her head, not understanding. "Coffee?" He smiled awkwardly. "Never mind." They walked side by side along a trail of floating stones. As they walked, visions shimmered in the air, flashes of Aaron's past. His training, his childhood, his first command. Sarika stopped to watch, fascinated. "Your memories are full of emotion. Humans feel everything so deeply." Aaron nodded. "That's kind of what we do best." Even when it hurts, she touched one of the glowing visions. A memory of Aaron standing on Earth under falling rain. "What is this?" she asked. He smiled. "That's rain, water from the sky. It's cold but peaceful." Sarika stared in awe. "Your world is alive. It cries and breathes." The light around them shifted, and suddenly Aaron saw flashes of her memories. Sarika standing before her army, her people bowing, her face alone and distant. He realized she wasn't just a warrior. She was someone burdened by leadership and loneliness. Without thinking, he said softly, "You don't let anyone see how much it hurts." "Do you?" She turned sharply, her eyes glowing brighter. "How did you—" He smiled gently. "It's in your eyes, Sarika. I've seen that look before. Leaders carry weight they can't share." She stood silent for a moment, then whispered, "You understand more than I expected." The lake began to glow brighter, and their reflections in the water merged for a heartbeat into one form of light. Sarika looked down in surprise. "The bond deepens," she said quietly. "It should not happen so fast." Aaron stared at the light. "What does it mean?" She turned toward him, her voice almost a whisper. "It means the stars favor us, Aaron Voss. It means this bond was not a mistake." His heart raced. "But it was. I didn't mean to—" She stepped closer, her face inches from his. "Maybe fate meant it for you." For a moment, the world around them seemed to stop. The air pulsed with soft energy, and Aaron could feel her heartbeat through the glow. He looked into her golden eyes and saw something new. Curiosity, warmth, and a hint of sadness. Sarika said softly, "You humans are strange. You speak with both fear and fire." Aaron smiled nervously. "It's part of our charm." She tilted her head. "Perhaps that is why I cannot look away." Suddenly, a distant explosion shook the ground. The energy field around the lake rippled and faded. A voice crackled through Sarika's wrist device. "Commander, enemy crafts approaching from the outer ridge." Her eyes hardened instantly. The warmth replaced by command, she looked at Aaron. "Stay behind me. This area is not safe," but Aaron stepped forward. "If they're attacking, you'll need me," she hesitated, then nodded once. "Very well, human. Let us face danger together." They ran toward the ship as streaks of red light burned across the sky. Aaron's heart pounded, not from fear but from the thrill of something new. He didn't know whether he was falling into love, destiny, or disaster. All he knew was that everything had changed, and somewhere deep inside a part of him whispered that maybe this bond wasn't a mistake at all. The next morning, the city of Zera 9 woke under a sky the color of molten silver. Commander Aaron Voss stood by the window of his alien quarters, watching the sun rise between floating towers. He could still hear the faint echo of explosions from the night before. Sarika's forces had driven off the attackers, but no one knew who they were. He took a deep breath and whispered, "One day I'm making first contact, the next I'm fighting space pirates and bonded to an alien commander." The door slid open and Sarika entered, her armor shining softly under the morning light. She looked calm, but there was a hint of fatigue in her golden eyes. "You fought well last night, human," she said. "You moved without fear." Aaron shrugged. "Fear was there. I just didn't have time to listen to it." A faint smile touched her lips. "That is a human thing, isn't it?" He nodded. "We're good at pretending we're brave." Sarika motioned for him to follow. "There is something I wish to show you." They walked through the grand corridors of her warship, passing alien soldiers who bowed slightly as they passed. Aaron could feel their eyes on him, half respect, half suspicion. They reached a large hall filled with glowing artifacts. Sarika stopped beside a crystal map showing dozens of star systems. "These are the worlds once ruled by our ancestors," she said, her voice heavy with history. "But we lost them after the Great Divide. Now we fight to keep what remains." Aaron studied the map. "You've been at war for a long time." She nodded. "Too long. It made us strong, but it also made us cold." Her voice softened. "Your people are different. You fight with your hearts," he chuckled. "Sometimes we fight with too much heart. That's how we end up in trouble." She looked at him curiously. "Is that how you ended up with me?" Aaron smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, something like that." They walked deeper into the ship, until they reached a small observation deck. From there, the view of the stars was endless, bright and alive. Sarika stood silently for a moment, then said, "Our people do not understand emotion the way yours do. We control it, we hide it. It makes us weak." Aaron leaned on the rail. "On Earth, we think feeling something deeply is what makes us human." She looked at him. "And yet you build machines, fly across space, and fight like gods. You feel too much and still survive." Aaron smiled gently. "That's the trick. We break, but we keep going." For a long time, there was silence between them. Then Aaron said softly, "Back home, I used to stand on the deck of my ship and watch the ocean. It made me feel small but peaceful." Sarika tilted her head. "Ocean?" He nodded. "It's a sea of water, endless and deep. It covers most of our planet." She closed her eyes for a moment. "Your world sounds alive. I would like to see it." Aaron smiled. "Maybe one day you will." Just then, the ship's lights flickered and a voice came through the comms. "Commander Sarika, the Council requests an update. They question your bond with the human." Sarika's expression turned cold. "Of course they do." Aaron frowned. "They don't trust humans, do they?" She shook her head. "They trust nothing they cannot control." She looked at him with a faint smile. "That includes me." Later, in the council chamber, dozens of alien leaders stood in a circle of light. When Sarika entered with Aaron, the whispers began instantly. One elder stepped forward, his silver armor gleaming. "Commander, this human is dangerous. His kind cannot be trusted." Aaron clenched his fists but stayed silent. Sarika lifted her chin. "He saved lives last night. He stood beside me when others ran." The elder's eyes narrowed. "And what does he gain from this? He has bound himself to you." "Perhaps for power." Sarika's voice hardened. He gains nothing but respect, which is more than you offer. Aaron looked at her with quiet admiration. In that moment, he saw how much she risked by defending him after the meeting. As they walked back to her quarters, he said softly, "You didn't have to stand up for me like that." She stopped and turned. "I did, the bond chose you, and now I see why." He smiled faintly. "Because I'm good at getting into trouble." Her lips curved into a rare smile. "Because you remind me what courage looks like." That night, Sarika invited him to the top of her ship's tower. The sky was full of shooting stars, glowing trails across the darkness. Aaron sat beside her, both quiet for a while. Finally, he said, "You know, when I first came here, I thought you'd hate humans." Sarika looked at him. "I did not understand humans. Now I do, at least one," he chuckled. "Just one." She nodded. "For now." As they watched the stars, a soft wind carried strange music from the city below. Sarika turned to him and asked, "Tell me, Aaron, what makes your people so strong?" He thought for a moment, then said, "We're strong because we care, even when it hurts, even when it costs us everything." She looked into his eyes, silent, then she whispered, "Perhaps that is what we have forgotten." Their eyes met, and for a moment the world faded away. No war, no misunderstanding. Just two souls from different worlds learning what it meant to feel. The light of the twin moons washed over them, and the faint bond mark on their hands began to glow again. Neither spoke, but both knew something had changed. The bond was no longer an accident. It was becoming something real, something alive. And somewhere deep in the heart of the alien commander, something human began to grow. The next day began with silence, but it was the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Commander Aaron Voss walked down the long hall of the Zyran flagship, feeling the eyes of every alien soldier follow him. Their stares were no longer just curious, they were cold, sharp and full of whispers. Something had changed overnight, and he could feel it in the air. He didn't know yet that the bond that had made him an ally was now turning him into a target. Sarika was in the war room, standing before a glowing map of the outer sectors. Her golden eyes scanned the data, but her mind was far away. When Aaron entered, she looked up, a brief warmth flickering across her face. "You're awake early," she said softly. He smiled. "Couldn't sleep. I kept hearing your soldiers talk." "Something feels off," she nodded. "Yes, the council is restless. They do not like how close you and I have become." Aaron frowned. "You mean the peace talks?" Sarika looked at him for a long moment. "I mean everything." Before he could reply, the doors burst open, and General Revik stormed in with 2 guards. His voice was sharp and full of venom. "Commander Sarika, the human must be removed from this ship." Sarika turned calmly. "Explain yourself." Revik slammed a data crystal on the table, and it lit up with holographic images, plans, routes and codes marked with human symbols. "This," he said, pointing at the map, "was found inside our encrypted system. Only someone with your human friend's access could have placed it." Aaron stared at the images, completely stunned. "That's not me." "I swear I didn't," Revik interrupted. "Lies, you are a spy, sent to learn our defenses." The room filled with angry murmurs. Sarika raised her hand, silencing the crowd. Her eyes locked on Aaron, not with anger, but with something far more painful. "Doubt, Aaron," she said quietly. "Is there any truth in this?" He stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Sarika, you know me. I would never betray you. I don't even understand your systems." "I couldn't do this if I tried," Revik sneered. "How convenient." Aaron clenched his fists. "You planted this, didn't you?" Revik's grin widened. "Believe what you wish, human." Sarika's gaze stayed on Aaron for a long moment, and then she whispered, "Guards, take him to the holding chamber, until we confirm the truth." Aaron's heart sank. "Sarika, please." Her voice broke slightly. "I cannot risk my people, not again." The guards grabbed him by the arms. Pulling him away, he didn't fight back. He just looked at her one last time, whispering, "I trusted you." The cell was cold and dark. Lit only by faint blue light from the walls, Aaron sat on the floor, staring at the mark on his hand, the bond mark that had once glowed when Sarika was near. Now it was dim, almost gone, he whispered to himself. Maybe this is what I get for believing an alien could understand me. Hours passed, maybe more, he wasn't sure. Then the door slid open quietly and Mira slipped inside, her human translator flickering on her wrist. "Commander," she whispered, "we found something." Aaron looked up, his eyes tired but alert. "Tell me it's good news." She nodded quickly. "The data crystal Revik showed, it's fake. I traced the code, it's old council encryption." "Not from your system," Aaron stood, "so he framed me." "Yes," Mira said. "And we think he's working with the raiders who attacked last night." Aaron's eyes hardened. "Then we need to prove it before Sarika does something she'll regret." Mira frowned. "Easier said than done. They've locked all human tech from the main network." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then we do it the human way, improvise." Back on the command deck, Sarika stood alone staring at the stars. She hated the silence, hated the doubt in her heart. She remembered how Aaron had risked his life beside her, how his words had made her feel alive for the first time in years. But the council's warning echoed in her mind. Humans cannot be trusted. Her second-in-command approached, whispering, "Commander, the human's ship is leaving orbit." "They must be retreating," Sarika frowned. "Without him?" "Yes," Revik said, stepping out of the shadows. "They know the truth. Your human was a spy." But Sarika's instincts screamed something different. Her heart told her to question, not believe, at that same moment. Aaron and Mira crawled through the lower maintenance tunnels. They had found a data relay that connected to the central archive. Aaron connected his wrist device. Come on," he whispered. Lines of alien code flashed before him, and then proof. A hidden transmission from Revik to the raiders. Mira grinned. "Got him." But before they could escape, alarms blared through the ship. Security drones flew toward them. "Go!" Aaron shouted. "Get this to Sarika." "I'll hold them off," Mira hesitated. "You'll die." He smiled. "Humans are good at doing the stupid brave thing." She ran. And Aaron turned to face the approaching drones. Laser light filled the tunnel and he ducked behind a metal beam, firing back with a stolen Zyron blaster. Each shot echoed through the corridor, sparks flying like stars. He didn't know if Sarika would believe him, but he had to try in the war room. Sarika stood before Revik as Mira burst through the door, breathless and shaking. "Commander," she gasped. "You've been lied to." She threw the crystal on the table, and the hologram replayed Revik's transmission, his voice ordering the raiders to attack. The council gasped, and Sarika turned slowly toward Revik, her voice deadly calm. "You betrayed us." Revik reached for his weapon, but she was faster, her blade glowing with blue light as she struck it from his hand. Guards surrounded him instantly. Sarika turned to Mira. "Where is Aaron?" Mira's voice cracked. "He's still in the tunnels." "Fighting them." Without a word, Sarika ran, her heart pounding with something she didn't fully understand. Fear, guilt, and something more. For the first time, she realized that this bond, this accident, had become something she could no longer deny. The human heart was fragile, but it burned brighter than any star, and she couldn't let his light fade, not now, not ever. The alarm screamed through the ship like angry thunder. Commander Sarika ran down the glowing corridors, her cape flowing behind her. The walls flashed red, warning symbols blinking across every screen. She didn't hear the noise anymore. All she could think of was Aaron. Every step echoed with one thought. "I have to find him before it's too late." The lower tunnels of the Zyron flagship were chaos. Smoke filled the air, and small explosions shook the metal walls. Aaron crouched behind a broken power console, blaster in hand, his chest rising and falling fast. He fired at another wave of security drones, each shot bursting in sparks. His arm burned from a fresh wound, but he refused to stop. "Come on, you metal bugs," he muttered. "I'm not done yet." Sarika's voice came through the comms. "Aaron, answer me." He pressed his earpiece, his voice rough. "Still alive?" "Barely. I'm coming to you," she said. He smiled weakly. "Took you long enough." Static filled the line. And then silence. He cursed under his breath. "Of course." Up above, Revik had escaped custody, slipping into the hangar bay with a stolen ship. He wasn't going to let his plan fail. His ship's engines roared to life as he spoke into his comm. "Activate the core disruptor. Let's see how the human likes dying with his new family." The engines flared bright red and the countdown to destruction began. Sarika reached the tunnel access and forced the doors open with a burst of energy from her gauntlet. The smoke was thick, glowing orange from fire and plasma light. She saw movement ahead, Aaron dragging himself along the wall, still firing at drones. "Aaron!" she shouted, running toward him. He turned, eyes wide. "Sarika!" A drone appeared from the ceiling, aiming at her before she could react. Aaron jumped between them, blasting it mid-air. the explosion lighting his face. Sarika reached him, grabbing his arm. "You fool. You could have died." He smiled faintly. "Would have ruined your whole day. Wouldn't it?" She shook her head, half angry, half relieved. "You humans are impossible." They ran together through the collapsing tunnel. Behind them, explosions grew louder, shaking the entire ship. Sarika tapped her wrist screen, scanning the readings. "He's activated the core disruptor. If it detonates, the ship will explode," Aaron frowned. "Then we stop it." She looked at him sharply. "You don't even know how." He smiled. "I'm a fast learner." They reached the core chamber, a massive circular room filled with rotating energy rings and glowing conduits. In the center, a huge sphere pulsed with unstable power, lightning-like energy crackling through the air. Revik stood on the upper platform, holding a control module, his armor scorched but his grin confident. "You're too late, Commander," he shouted. "When the core goes critical, your ship and your human will vanish." Sarika raised her weapon. "Revik, surrender now," he laughed. "Never." "You let that creature infect you with weakness," Aaron shouted back. "Weakness? You call saving lives weakness? You're the one hiding behind hate," Revik sneered. "Humans talk too much," and fired. The energy blast hit the floor near Aaron, throwing him back. Sarika leaped up, blocking the next shot with her energy blade, sparks flying as metal screamed. She moved like lightning, each strike stronger than the last, Revik countered. But she pushed him back toward the edge of the platform. Their weapons clashed again, blue and red light filling the room like a storm. Aaron struggled to his feet, limping toward the control console. He looked at the alien interface, full of symbols he didn't understand. "Okay, no pressure. Just stop a superweapon in an alien language," he muttered. Sarika knocked Revik's blade aside and shouted, "Pull the third lever counterclockwise." "No." "The other counterclockwise," Aaron yelled back. "That's not even a real direction." Revik tried to strike her again, but Sarika spun and drove her blade through his chestplate. Energy surging in a blinding flash, Revik gasped. "You chose him over your own?" Sarika's eyes softened for a moment. "No, I chose what's right." She pulled her blade free, and Revik fell, the light fading from his eyes. But the core kept shaking, its light turning crimson. Aaron slammed his hands on the console, trying random commands. Nothing worked. The countdown raced faster. Sarika jumped down beside him. "We're out of time," he looked at her. "If we don't stop it, this whole ship's gone," she nodded. "Then one of us must stay to stabilize the core manually." He froze. "You mean one of us dies?" She looked straight into his eyes. "Yes." Aaron shook his head. "No, not happening." She placed her hand on his cheek. "Aaron Voss, you've already given my people something I never had. Hope. That is enough." He grabbed her hand tightly. "I didn't come all this way to lose you now." Before she could stop him, he pulled a control conduit from its slot and rerouted the power into his own suit. Electric light surged around him, the energy field glowing brighter. Sarika shouted, "What are you doing?" He smiled through the light. "The human thing, remember?" The energy wrapped around him like fire, and the core began to stabilize. The red light faded back to blue, the shaking slowed, and silence filled the room again. Sarika fell to her knees beside him as he collapsed. Smoke rising from his armor, she touched his face, tears forming in her golden eyes. "Aaron, wake up!" He stirred weakly, his voice barely a whisper. "Told you I'd fix it." She smiled through her tears. "You reckless, beautiful human." The bond mark on their hands glowed once more, brighter than ever before, and for a brief second, the light of their connection spread through the whole chamber like a star being born. Outside, the Zyran fleet watched in awe as the flagship's core stabilized. The explosion never came, only a pulse of brilliant light that rippled through the sky. Inside, Sarika held Aaron close, whispering, "You saved us all." He opened his eyes weakly. "Guess that means you're stuck with me." She smiled softly. "I think I can live with that." The ship floated silent among the stars, and for the first time in years, Sarika felt something new, a heartbeat that wasn't her own echoing inside her. The truth had been revealed. The battle was over. But what began as an accident had now become destiny. The battle was over, but the silence that followed felt louder than any explosion. The great flagship drifted above the glowing clouds of Zira 9. Its hull scarred, its crew exhausted yet alive, Commander Sarika stood at the main viewport, watching the stars burn quietly beyond the glass. Behind her, the hum of the engines returned, slow and steady, like a heartbeat restarting after a long sleep. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the light, the heat, and the human who refused to let go. Aaron Voss lay in the medical chamber, surrounded by soft blue lights and whispering machines. The healer said he would live, though his body was weak. His spirit had burned bright enough to stabilize the ship itself. When Sarika entered, the room seemed to warm slightly. She approached his bedside slowly, her armor gone, wearing a simple white robe that shimmered like starlight. For a long moment, she just looked at him, his face calm, a faint smile resting on his lips even in sleep. "Stubborn human," she whispered. "You almost tore the stars apart just to save us." Aaron's eyes fluttered open, his voice rough but alive. "You're welcome." She let out a breath that sounded almost like laughter. "You were not supposed to wake yet." He grinned faintly. "I figured you'd miss me too much." Sarika shook her head. "You have too much confidence for someone nearly dead." He smiled. "That's another human thing." For a moment, they both just looked at each other, and the world outside faded away. When Aaron finally stood again days later, the ship gathered to honor him. Alien soldiers who once whispered behind his back now stood in lines of respect. Even the council members, silent and prideful, bowed slightly as he entered the Hall of Unity. Sarika stood beside him, her voice clear and strong as she addressed them. "This human came here by accident. He spoke without caution. He acted without thought, and yet he reminded us what courage truly is." Her words echoed across the hall. "He risked everything, not for power, not for glory, but for life itself." Aaron tried to look humble, but a small grin betrayed him. "I just didn't want to explode. That's all." The crowd laughed softly, and for the first time, human humor reached alien hearts. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Sarika led him to the balcony overlooking the twin suns. The light painted her face in gold and silver, her eyes softer than he had ever seen. "Our worlds will speak again," she said. "But this time as equals." Aaron leaned on the rail. "So, does this mean our diplomatic mission succeeded?" She smiled faintly. "If nearly dying is your version of success, then yes," he chuckled. "Then we're both heroes." She turned to face him fully. "The Council has agreed to a new alliance. Humans and Xyrans will share knowledge, defense, and trade." He nodded. "That's good news." Her voice lowered slightly. "They also asked about our bond." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "Oh, that." "Yes," she said. "I told them it was no longer a mistake. I told them it was destiny." He blinked, then laughed quietly. "So, we're official now." Sarika stepped closer, her voice almost a whisper. "We always were." The wind carried the scent of alien flowers through the air, and for a moment it felt like the universe itself was listening. Sarika lifted her hand, and their glowing bond marks touched once more, merging light into light. The warmth between them wasn't just energy, it was connection. Trust, something real. She looked into his eyes. "You changed my world, Aaron Voss." He smiled softly. "You changed mine first, time passed." And the human ship Horizon prepared to return to Earth. Aaron stood on the ramp, the crew around him loading crates of data and new technology. Mira grinned. "So, Commander, you gonna miss your alien princess?" Aaron smirked. "Commander, not princess, and yeah, maybe a little." Kale chuckled. "The entire galaxy's talking about you." "The human who flirted his way into peace," Aaron laughed. "Not how I planned it, but it worked." Sarika appeared behind them, her presence commanding even in silence. She stopped before Aaron, her golden eyes steady. "Our worlds are connected now, and so are we." He nodded. "You'll visit Earth?" She smiled. "Only if you promise not to flirt with anyone else." He grinned. "No promises." Her expression softened. "Then I suppose I'll have to come and keep you in line." The two of them stood quietly as the twin suns rose higher. Sarika lifted her hand in salute, and Aaron returned it. The ramp closed slowly, the engines roared, and the horizon lifted into the alien sky from the window. Aaron looked down at her figure growing smaller, her cape shining like a second sun. He whispered softly, "See you soon, Commander." In the distance, Sarika watched until the ship disappeared into the stars. A faint smile touched her lips as she whispered back, "Until we meet again, my human." Above them, the stars burned brighter as if the universe itself celebrated their strange, beautiful bond, two souls from two worlds, brought together by an accident, divided by nothing, united by the heart. And as the light of the stars spread across the endless dark, it carried a simple truth. Sometimes the smallest mistake can change the fate of entire galaxies.